What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor, but not the United States version of Survivor. But today we are going to be talking about Australian Survivor and basically talking about the first premiere episode that happened last week. So happy Australian Survivor premiere and happy United States Survivor premiere because in 2 days, we will see the first episode of Winners at War. I'm so freaking hyped. So, my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and in case you guys were wondering, I've only seen like one episode, maybe two episodes of Australian Survivor before, and both of them were for this podcast. So, going into this season of Australian Survivor, which is an all star season, it's the first Australian Survivor season to feature all returnees. But going into this, Rachel's like a fan of Australian Survivor. I wouldn't say a mega fan because our podcast is technically only for US Survivor. She's not a mega fan yet, but she's a fan of Australian Survivor. I've watched two episodes, and I did not recognize a single person on this Survivor Australia All Stars. So that's where we were going into it.
Yeah, so I've seen all 4 seasons of Australian Survivor. This season, I guess after the fact, I've seen the Champions versus Contenders 2 live, and then I went back and watched all the other seasons after seeing that one live. And so now I'm caught up, ready for freaking Australian Survivor All Stars because this is about to be a hype. But yeah, I've seen all 4 seasons now, and now starting to listen to the podcasts for Australian Survivor All Stars, which literally I think I watch or listen to Survivor content maybe 8 hours a week because there's just a lot happening, especially when Winners at War is going to start to premiere. And then Alyssa and I doing this literally hours and hours worth of content, which is cool, but also so crazy that like there's literally so much content about one TV show. And that's how we're spending all of our time. But if you are interested, Alyssa and I, before we seen any Australian Survivor, we I guess reacted to Australian Survivor Champions versus Contenders when Russell Hantz was the first person voted out. And so our review of that is I'll put it in the description down below after the podcast airs. And then I guess you can check it out on the channel if you're so inclined of seeing our reaction to Russell Hantz getting voted out of Australian Survivor.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I'm not super into Australian Survivor is because of what Rachel said about like it takes so much time. Australian Survivor airs 3 times a week.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, 3 times a week, and the episodes are long, and so it's like if you want to keep up with it, and you're a college student, I feel like you have to sacrifice sleep. And I really enjoy sleeping, so.
Which is interesting because I feel like there was a lot of debate over the US Survivor potentially doing longer episodes for Winners at War to like have more content and maybe doing the 2 hour long episodes with commercials. It would be a 90-minute episode, similar to like Australian Survivor without commercials. The episodes are about 90 minutes. And it's like, I feel like Australian Survivor has fans that are willing to watch the episodes. Maybe it isn't at the exact time that the episode is airing, but people do get around to it on the weekends or when they do have the time. So I feel like if this is something US Survivor wants to look into, it could be beneficial to look at those statistics because for me, we don't even live in the time zone. And I feel like on the Facebook groups that I'm a part of that post the links to each episode, it's a lot of US people or like people from other parts of the world that are watching and just using Facebook to find the links to the videos. So it would be interesting to see, like, I guess the statistics about that if Jeff Probst wants to do that.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of TV shows obviously only use their like Nielsen numbers or whatever to decide whether or not um it's gonna be renewed. And I think that's like dumb because a lot of people I feel like watch via streaming now. So whatever.
Yeah, so overall thoughts of the episode, Alyssa, and then I can talk through, I guess, my stuff. I have seen the first 3 episodes last week, and then the 4th episode is seemingly to have been posted today. So I was going to watch that after this. So if I mention anything, it's probably from the first 3 episodes. And so if you haven't watched that, then you might get spoiled.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes of Australian Survivor, and I feel like that made this a lot less exciting for me than it was for Rachel, just because like I didn't know anybody's names. They don't put people's names on the screen. I I was telling Rachel before we started podcasting, Shane was the one who got voted out of Australian Survivor, and literally it took me up until the moment she was voted out to realize she was a woman, because I was like, Shane, that's a guy's name, and then I was like really confused why like when they were talking about Shane, they kept showing her on screen because I was like, where's Shane? Who's this lady? And so, yeah, that was kind of confusing for me. Their challenges were like dope though. Like the bit where they had to like break through the like bamboo wall thingy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was dope. And I liked their hidden immunity idol clue being in the challenge and not telling anyone it was in the challenge, and then where they hid the hidden immunity idol, like that was also really cool. I feel like US Survivor should take some notes and not just put it in like random spots. Like that was cool.
No, yeah, I agree. When I watched the premiere episode of Australian Survivor, I texted Alyssa after like, okay, for this podcast, like I think you're going to be sort of really confused because they didn't really put any names of people on the screen unless they were giving a confessional. And then even for me, having seen the seasons, like a lot of the blonde girls from a side profile or from like afar really look sort of similar. So it's hard to like figure out who is who, especially like if the camera's moving very quickly. So I was a little confused there. And it was interesting also on Facebook, I was seeing like, oh, someone posted that the tribe colors of yellow and green were super cool. And then someone in the comments who is colorblind was like, yeah, no, like the colors are too similar and they can't tell them apart. And so I feel like that would be not, ADA accessible for people. And so that's like an interesting thing to think about, I guess, when you're picking tribe colors. Like it's difficult for those people to tell the tribes apart, which I thought was super interesting to think about, especially after like US Survivor with Tommy being colorblind as well. Yeah, Alyssa, I agree. The challenges for Australian Survivor are literally so freaking cool. And we'll talk about the challenges more in depth later. But yeah, US Survivor, I think, should take a note from Australian Survivor's book with these challenges because US Survivor, they're cool, I guess, but I feel like it's a lot of like relay race style, like swimming, ball holding stuff versus like Australian Survivor. Like, yes, even though it may warrant voting a lot of the women out earlier in the season because you need tribe strength, and that's sort of a detriment, and not everyone is on an even playing field with that. But like these tribe challenges are so freaking cool. Like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, I would just watch it for the challenges. Second, like US Survivor, I usually fast forward through challenges when I'm watching it the second time. But these ones I would not skip because they're just so unique and so cool.
Yeah. One note about like the color thing for Australian Survivor, I feel like there's one thing that US Survivor does well. I think that a lot of times, like I think we laugh how so many tribes are like a red tribe and a blue tribe, but I feel like that's actually really good for people who are colorblind because they're distinct even when you're colorblind. But yeah, back to challenges. They're really dope. And I feel like Australian Survivor hasn't had the same issue, I don't think, of like only men winning. I know that the person who won last season,
Yes,
Champions
it's
versus Contenders,
three
was,
girls, one guy.
yeah. And so I feel like we're talking about like, oh, the challenge design might make it so that women get voted out earlier, but like women are winning Australian Survivor. In the past 5 seasons, we haven't had a female winner of Survivor. So like can we really blame them if the more physical challenges like shake out that way, you know? So
No, that is super interesting, I feel like, to think about. Just Australian Survivor challenges, I'm surprised that more people like haven't gotten hurt. Even throughout like the first 3 episodes, they did like the water wrestling and like stuff like that. After those challenges, people you could see had scrapes and bruises on them. Um, Even yeah, no, in the second episode, I believe, when they're doing the wrestling, I straight up thought like people were going to snap their necks in half because of like the wrestling, and people were like sitting on each other, and like those big boys, it is very scary to watch. I was like, holy crap, I really hope no one gets medevaced from this. Even the first immunity challenge with Lockie literally running through all of those bamboo planks, I was like, holy crap, someone is going to have their eyeball poked out from one of these bamboo planks, like cracking in the wrong way. And then he just freaking rammed through all of them. I was so scared, like, holy crap, he is going to get hurt. Someone is going to get hurt from that. So it's like, there's this aura of, you never know, maybe someone will get hurt, like freaking Ross getting hurt. I'm still not over that because that is just so unfair. And he's still like in and out getting surgery and stuff, and then taken out of the game because of a challenge breaking on him. But like these challenges are just so physical and they're fun to watch. So I give them kudos on that.
yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where when people get hurt in US Survivor, it's because they're being dumb normally. Like, I think the only medevac, or not even medevac, the only injury I can think of where someone got hurt directly as a result of a challenge in Survivor is when James busted his knee in Heroes versus Villains. Like, you could argue that Caleb's medevac wasn't even directly because of the challenge, it was because of the fact that the island was so hot. And so I feel like, yeah, I think it's interesting that there's definitely more potential for people to be hurt in Australian Survivor. Like, I wasn't thinking about people getting hurt with the bamboo plank thing because I was just like, wait, is this guy really doing this? But definitely during the wrestling challenges, I feel like they go hard. Even harder, I would say, than the people do in US Survivor, because I feel like in US Survivor, when they wrestle, it's like people's tops come off or their buffs come off, but not like you're afraid they're going to break each other.
Yeah, it was so scary. And so I think something else that the Australian Survivor franchise does really well are those like introduction and promotional sequences of people. If you remember, even to like the beginning of the premiere episode or throughout the episodes that have been airing so far with like when they introduce a new person, they'll sort of go back into their backstory of like, oh, here are some clips of them at home. Here's their family. Here's their job kind of thing. They're so good and like well done, nicely edited. They're literally like mini movies. And I don't know. I just think these little promo videos are so cool throughout the winter break leading up to the premiere as well. On Facebook, Australian Survivor was posting these little promos to get people hype about the season. And just like, I don't know. I think I would like to hear your opinions, Alyssa, but I just think they're so cool. And it's something that the US version could do as well to get people hype about it, because the Australian Survivor version was literally posting these little montages of like, oh, here are the snakes of the game. Here are the challenge beasts of the game. And with the music and the editing and like all the cool clips that they insert in there, I'm a fan of it. I think it's super cool. Yeah, I think that's something US version could do because it's just so cool. Although I would like to say that throughout the premiere episode, it did feel very repetitive because at least like the first 8 minutes was of clips. If you are on the Facebook page and you do see the promos, it's stuff that we've already seen technically. Like they did 2 back-to-back promos that they've already shown online. So the episode did feel a little repetitive, but I guess because not everyone is on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they wouldn't have seen those promos, and then you still have to show them anyways. But like, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the promos. I feel like sometimes one of the complaints we have about US Survivor is that we don't really know a lot about some of the contestants. Like, I think we talked about it for Tommy a lot, where it's like, we know that he's a 4th grade teacher and he's colorblind, and those are the 2 facts we know about him, the winner of his season. And so I feel like the promos definitely like give you more of a backstory. And I think also, as someone who didn't watch Australian Survivor, having the promos was helpful in kind of knowing what to expect from all of these people. So
Yeah, so overall, throughout the premiere episode, there was 11 people with no confessionals. And so I was texting Alyssa when I was watching the first week's worth of videos last week. Like, this sort of seems like a repeat of US Survivor All Stars because, okay, spoiler, Shane goes home the first night. Jericho goes home the second episode. And so those were the only two winners out of the 24-person cast. And then they both got voted out first and second, which, okay, makes a lot of sense because they are on Tribes of 12 and they are the only winners. Like, that's an easy person to target and gang up on because, they won. We need to get them out. It's our time to shine and whatnot. And so, like, that makes sense but like, it just seems like it's going to repeat US Survivor All Stars so much that like all of the big name people like David and Henry and all of those guys are going to go home pre-merge, and then you're going to be left with the Moanas of the world making it freaking post-merge and then making it far in the game, which second episode and third episode, I was like, can Moana freaking just go home? She didn't get a confessional until the third episode. But then I was like, okay, if you're David's group, you would not vote Moana out because she's literally not doing anything. And so you'd want to keep her around. So it makes sense to vote Jericho out second. But then I'm like, oh my God, I cannot watch a season where like all of those random people that you could say don't necessarily deserve to be on Survivor All Stars because like Moana quit the game and whatnot. Like, I don't know. That's where my qualm was. I just feel like all of the big dogs are going to go at each other early. And hopefully, like with the third episode with the David and Matt Rogers alliance, like they realize that they need to keep each other around and work together because it is mutually beneficial. And yeah, okay, I'll stop ranting because Alyssa probably has no idea what I'm talking about. But Alyssa, you should watch the third episode. Like I was texting you, it's literally like David and Matt, or more so David, was playing like 3D chess when everyone was playing like 1D checkers or something. It was just such a good tribal council. And so anyone else watching, you can listen to me geek out about this, and you should definitely check out Australian Survivor because like the gameplay is good too. It's not even like the gameplay isn't as good as the US version. I would say that Australian Survivor has a lot of gamers as well.
yeah, I feel like I definitely got from the first episode the vibes of like US All Stars. And I think it's kind of lame that people are automatically like, oh, the winners have to go out first just because like that's just so boring. And I think I was frustrated with US All Stars when I watched it for that reason. And I feel like US All Stars wasn't that great of a game of Survivor. It was more interesting because of like the personal elements to it, like the fact that they were all playing with their friends, and the fact that like you had the whole like Rob and Amber love story, but also like the Rob and Lex betrayal, and then people just being wild and being characters and stuff like that. And I feel like it's going to be interesting to see if Australian Survivor can build an all-star season like US Survivor's all-star season on strategy alone. So I might watch the next couple episodes of Australian Survivor just because I'm curious to see like how much Matt is outplaying everyone else. Like I think sometimes you can tell that someone's like a couple steps ahead, but like the way you just described it makes it seem like he's playing like a Kim Spradlin level game where it's like he's just dominating everyone. So
Okay, just like watch the third episode because I don't know, it was just so freaking good, that tribal council. And it's like him and David, they just realize that they need each other even though Matt's in the minority and David's in the majority. Just like Alyssa, you just have to watch that. Please watch it after this and text me. Like I was texting my other friend from college who watches Australian Survivor as well, and like literally geeking out so much. And like, what a time to be alive. You could argue that this move that they did was too early in episode 3, which like this is not what this podcast is for, but if Alyssa and I start watching Australian Survivor, we can do Australian Survivor weekly update podcast where we could talk about like the intricacies of the moves and stuff like that. But I guess that's not what this is. Alyssa needs to watch the episodes because it actually is so good. But Alyssa, from the premiere episode, who do you think is the winner? Do you know enough people? Just guess. Of the people you saw in the premiere, which 11 people had no confessionals, so your pool is slightly smaller, but I feel like with Australian Survivor being a 50-day game and like 3 episodes a week and long episodes, I don't think that not having a confessional in the first episode is necessarily a bad thing or like you can't become the winner, but I have my winner pick and they got a confessional in the first episode.
I'm looking at the list of people now so I can see if any of them, like I remember any of them. I'm pretty sure there was one guy who I was just like, wait, what? When he voted. Can I just say Matt? That's a person, right? Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, Matt Rogers.
Yeah, I'll go with Matt.
Any reasoning?
He's the only one whose name I remember.
Not even David.
Listen, all of their names. David is just like such a. I guess both David and Matt are such like stereotypical white guys. Like most of them kind of look the same to me. So yeah.
Yeah, I think David is very good TV. Hopefully he can at least make the merge because I think it's going to be such a sad day when we don't get to see David and his like strategy on Survivor because I think he has, even in Champions v Contenders, like such interesting strategic play. But for my winner pick, I just thought of it after watching the first episode, and I'm also a fan of this person, would be Nick. I think Nick, in the first episode, he had a lot of good airtime. He had confessionals of like narration, which I think is always a positive because it's like you're still getting airtime even if you aren't like the center or driving the forces and whatnot. So, and I think Nick also, he's chilled. He's taking a back seat. And I really liked from him the first episode when Henry is trying to go balls to the wall, doing a blindside move. The first tribal council in a 50-day game, Nick is like, yo, like it's not the right time. You need to chill. And I think Nick's grown from the first time to this time now. And I don't know. I just really like him. I really liked him in season 1. And I was just sad for him that he kept getting like ostracized on the season for being a snake when like he was, if he played season 2 or whatever, like he would be a normal person kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like Australian Survivor isn't something you can watch casually the way you can casually watch like American Survivor, which I think is the appeal for some people. Like it's cool if you can have a show and really get into it, but it's hard when you're like me and have so much you want to do with your life. And then it's like, do I really have time to sit down and watch like 3 hours of television on Saturdays? So
yes, you do, Alyssa, because it's so good. Yeah, and I just think Henry, so into strategy talk, he needs to chill out. I am glad that their team tribe did not go to tribal council for the second and third episodes because if Henry was able to make a big move and like try to vote out Harry, which they wanted to do, I was like, what the heck? You both definitely need each other. Otherwise, you're going to drop like flies and all the big boys are going home kind of thing. And I was like, Henry needs to chill out. I am nervous for like Harry and them on that tribe. I don't know. I was going to freak out at tribal council if he got up and he was going to play the idol on Shane. Like, yes, I like Shane, previous winner and whatnot. But then seeing the challenges for episodes 2 and 3, I was like, Shane would literally die.
Yeah. I just feel like it's one of those things where it would have been a waste of an idol to idol Shane just because it's like people want her gone anyway. So it would have been delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, you can It was funny the first episode when she was doing the whole like, oh, I'm just an old lady like wandering around like blatantly looking for idols, no one cares. But I think that only works once, and that's the season that you won on, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think as a winner, it would be naive to believe that you could win with the same strategy, the exact same strategy. Like, Sandra winning with the same strategy twice was a fluke, I would say. So,
Yeah, so this was our review of Australian Survivor All Stars. Please comment down below that Alyssa should watch this, or if you want us to talk more about Australian Survivor All Stars, we can try to work something out. I am so freaking excited for Wednesday, Winners at War, and tomorrow I am turning 22, and Wednesday I'm going to Adam Klein's Survivor watch party for the premiere. So there's a lot of big things happening this week, and I'm just so excited.
yeah, so in your comments down below, wish Rachel a happy birthday. Tell Rachel I don't have to watch Australian Survivor,
Yes.
and it'll be great. And we'll see you guys soon with the podcast about the premiere of Winners at War.
I'm so
Yay!
excited.
Bye.